Thank you for joining me again for this week's devotion from Honey from the Word. Today's devotion is titled, There is a River, from Psalms 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling, Selah. There is a river, whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her just at the break of dawn. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge, Selah. Come, behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes war cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge, Selah. This psalm has been called Luther's psalm. It was that which he was accustomed to sing when there was trouble around, when the times were dark, when the enemies of truth appeared to triumph, when disaster seemed to come over. The cause he was accustomed to say to his fellow laborers, "Come, let us sing the 46th Psalm." It is not possible to determine the occasion on which the psalm was written. It was evidently written in a time of trouble or of some impending calamity, and apparently some national calamity or some time when the nation was in danger and when it was felt that their only refuge, their last hope, was in God. The main thought of the psalm, the central idea in it is that in the midst of these general and far-spreading agitations and convulsions among the nations of the earth, the people of God were safe. Fear, it's the general term for the anxiety and agitation that is felt at the presence of danger. It is a tension which comes when we are in the presence or expected to be in the presence of danger. You see, life is full of fears, but I'm here to tell you today, fears do not have to dominate our thinking. Fears do not have to have control over our lives. The psalmist begins by telling us God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. The words very present carry the idea of his readiness to be found. You see, he is a help that is to be found, very powerful and effective in any situation or difficulty we may find ourselves to be in. He is a refuge, our protection. In him we find shelter. Deuteronomy 33 and verse 27 says, "The eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. He will drive out your enemy before you, saying, destroy him." In these first three verses, we are given a list of adjectives that talk about trouble that comes our way. With all this, he says, we are not to fear. In verse 1, we see the word trouble. It indicates intense inner turmoil. It describes the anguish of a people that are besieged by an enemy. It is comparable to the pain of a woman giving her birth to her first child. Even in this kind of fear and turmoil, in this kind of darkness and distress, the psalmist says, we will not fear. Verse 2, it talks about the earth being removed. The word removed means to change, to exchange, to alter is a good translation. Mountains being carried into the sea. The word carried means to shake or slip. It refers to great insecurity, slipping in the time of calamity. It refers to the sudden unexpected, and disastrous shaking of the solid earth. Sometimes the things we thought we could depend on, the things which were apparently immovable and dependable, are suddenly discovered to be just the opposite. We lean on them, and guess what? They topple over. In verse 3, we see that the waters roar. The word roar means to cry aloud, to rage or thunder, to make a loud noise, to be turbulent. It carries the idea of something being shaken or moved in a violent kind of manner so as to crush or destroy, like the waves of the sea beating against the base of a cliff with enough force and regularity that the cliff eventually erodes and falls into the sea. It is a strong word emphasizing unrest, commotion, strong feeling, or even noise. On what has just been said, remember, God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. Let the worst we can imagine come, and we will believe. Though life tosses us around and the things we lean on suddenly disappear, we will believe. Though circumstances are tumultuous and uncertain, we will believe. Though the situation could crush any other person, we will believe. Though all our hopes and dreams suddenly wash out from under us, we will believe. Why? Because God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. It talks about the waters foam or they boil, the mountains shake, they quake or they tremble. Though an earthquake is going all around us and everything seems to be falling in, we will not fear. Why? Because God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. The psalmist is simply saying here, fear makes no sense with God on our side. It is irrational. And he goes on in verse 4 to say this, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God. The river refers to the blessings of God. It is in those times of need that God, the Holy Spirit who lives within us, refreshes us. You get that? You understand that? There's nothing like the refreshing waters of the Holy Spirit when we are faced with fear. Oh, I'm so glad to know that. Isaiah 48:18 calls it a river of peace. How can fear enter in when a river of peace is flowing out of our lives? Verse 8 reads this way, come and see the works of the Lord, the desolations he has brought on the earth. The words come and see mean pause and meditate over this. Think about its implications. Verse 9 depicts the battlefield after the war is over. It's as though the psalmist was calling the worshipers to come out from behind the wall when it was all over and see the desolation God had brought on the heads of their enemies. Pay attention to this. God says, be still. The word here means to abandon, to relax, to stop striving. It means to sink as one might relax and just sink into a chair. It pictures a soldier who puts down his weapons, who stops his fighting, who lets down his defenses, who relaxes his entire body because the danger has passed. So we can see clearly that being still before God is a very active step of faith. We are to abandon ourselves to God. We are to relax in Him, to sink into His arms and let Him take care of the trouble that is around us. He's our refuge we can relax in. When everything seems to be falling apart, no, there is a river that flows from the throne of God. There is a river that's flowing from inside of you, a river of peace, a river of calmness, if you and I will just trust in the Lord.